Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you out to the Screen Sages. This is our actual inaugural episode. And my name's Chris Daly. Joining me, as always, Emmanuel Lacsama. How are you
Manny,
doing, Manny? Yeah. How are you doing,
I'm doing
man?
great, Chris. I'm doing good. I'm ready. I
Sweet.
got my show prep up, and let's go for the topics.
Nice. Well, what we're going to talk about in our inaugural show is uh, probably what's been called by many like one of the greatest films of all time, and that is Seven Samurai by Akira Kurosawa, 1954, black and white. I tell you, there's something about this film. It still holds up.
Yes, it does. The fact of the matter that a lot, not, I don't know if it's a lot, but there's base movies now that have certain genres, action-wise, take from that the old storylines. One of the more, well, not quite recent, but that came after that, very same thing was Magnificent Seven, which was almost a word for word, not word for word, but shot for shot sequences that copied off of it. I mean, storyline, but set in a Western manner. And mind you, Magnificent Seven on its own, if nobody knew about Seven Samurai, stands great by itself. I'm
Well,
not.
I do want to get into that. I want to get into, uh, I guess, the children of Kurosawa, as well as maybe some influences on his work. But let's first talk about the film itself. What the storyline is. If you could give us kind of a breakdown of the storyline.
Well, it starts off about this poor village, so poor that they don't have a means to protect themselves from marauding bandits, and so they sent a couple of people out to the other villages and said, "Hey, look for masterless samurais, that would help us and do this."
Right.
And they found a couple, and I have to explain something about the word samurai. It's a literal translation called to serve.
Mm-hmm.
It serves its master, but in this thing, their master for some odd no, not some odd reason, but their master here is the village. But if you look at it in a much broader sense in the samurai culture, their master, or if it's not the village, their master, a daimyo, a lord,
Mm-hmm.
usually owns or presides a village. So in essence, they're serving a lord, but they don't. That village doesn't have a particular lord that owns them. Okay, there's a long history of how to explain what the samurai culture is, but in essence, these samurais then in turn said, "Well, we have to find somebody, because if just the two of us, we need more samurais to help these villagers out," and which they found five more guys, and they said, and when they went back to the village, and the village elder says, "You only found seven. There's like 40 or 50 of them," but back then, samurais are essentially Japan's special forces, or what the
Right.
terminology this day is called a force multiplier. Basically, they're helping the village to sustain themselves, to defend themselves from marauding bandits, and showing them the way. But it, it's a each samurai in this movie have their own quirks. The leader And
Well, actually, the fun part I thought was, and this is a very long film,
yes,
but well worth the build up, because it spent so much time building the characters as the village elder went around and he met all these different Ronin and convinced them to come to his cause, and then they had the I guess the comic relief. A guy who was trying to be one ended up being a pretty big character in the movie itself.
and he is the badass of them because he carries a naginata, a much bigger samurai sword, if you look at it. And that is Toshiro Mifune, Kurosawa's muse, basically. He's in a lot of the Kurosawa movies. So, yeah. But, yeah, he is the comic relief in the movie. But it ends up being not just that, being a badass too. Go ahead.
Right. So let's now move on to what you were talking about, the
influences
that came after. Yeah, you had mentioned the Magnificent Seven. That was probably the
more obvious one.
Successful, the more obvious, because it was done with the clear intent of duplicating it for an American audience with a Western feel to it. But if you look at even movies like High Plains Drifter, it Clint Eastwood in that is the Seven Samurais, and he comes and he does the exact same thing. He teaches them how to shoot. He does, there's so many movies that people say followed this setting.
Yes, because the Seven Samurais, after that, there were several other, particularly 2 movies that came after that in the samurai genre. This Japan Sword and Sandals movie is Sanjuro and Yojimbo.
Yeah.
High Plains for a few dollars more, I think, was copied Sanjuro, and Yojimbo. Bruce Willis had a movie called Last Man Standing, and it was the exact thing of one of those things. It's a Sanjuro.
They did in the credits. They listed Kurosawa as one of the writers, so they gave homage to it.
Yeah, I mean, a director would be foolish to be, especially in this day and age of social media, would be foolish to say, yeah, this is my original thing, because diehards know that, you right. Copied that one from Kurosawa.
The classic example of that is Quentin Tarantino. Every movie he's ever made is quote unquote an homage to somebody. He's made a career copying scenes, copying movies.
But he does mention them and gives credit to them because Quentin Tarantino, to his credit, because he loved movies so much, he said that at the video store, these are the guys that I watch and delved on, and it's what made him the director that he is. I mean, he is very much an auteur. He doesn't do any how would I say this, a sellout movie, but I don't know. There are a couple. It's still hard to plug in Tarantino on the kind of director that he is, because nobody came close to Kurosawa's style as far as originality goes. I mean, the big 4, Spielberg, Coppola, Lucas, and Scorsese, all mentions the influence to Kurosawa. Spielberg and Lucas definitely helped Kurosawa fund a movie called Ran, because Kagemusha was the one, because it ran out of funding when Lucas and Spielberg heard about it. They went to Japan and threw money to Kurosawa so that they could finish Kagemusha. I said, they might correct me on this one if it's Kagemusha or Rat, but it's one of those two. But then again, Kurosawa, to his credit, also gives credit to another influence of his, Shakespeare.
Right.
Throne of Blood.
Yeah, and
Macbeth.
If you look prior to Seven Samurai, The Asphalt Jungle was an early film that had a similar theme that came before it. You could even make a stretch and say The Wizard of Oz, which came out 5 years before this film, and it was a collection of disparate types that all worked together, for a goal. They didn't save a city, but they saved the world, the land of Oz, basically.
But the Seven Samurai had a clear distinction of that goal. There's nothing
right, and
they said it in a historical sense, and it's very accurate, because to this day, the genre, the samurai genre, sword samurai genre, not the modern ones, still stands on its own. And I've seen a lot of these samurai dramas that I can still definitely say that they go back to the style of Kurosawa's story, not exactly the storytelling, but the style of it, because Kurosawa's storytelling is different. A certain style of his also is the shot selection. It's very deliberate on how he frames scenes in the movie, and that's another long conversation of
I'll get to that in a second. I wanted to mention a couple other modern ones quick while I was thinking of them that follow that process. You could say something like The Three Amigos. Sure, it was comedy, but it was the same. Even to the Avengers, I mean, it was, again, all these different ones that came together to save the country, the world, whatever. So, but no, you were talking about Kurosawa as a filmmaker. For me, the thing I was most impressed with was how he uses motion in every single shot. There's like multiple layers of motion going on in every shot. They'll have people in the foreground, they'll have a stream running one direction, they'll have wind blowing the other direction. There's always serious movement in all of his shots.
Yes, because prior to him doing that, the movies, and I may have to look at it deeper, the movies were framed as from a stage point of view.
Right. Yeah, that was Hollywood. That was it was
yes. So there was no sense of realism,
right?
In a sense where subtleties, like you said, the wind blowing and multiple people, that's layered in the thing, they never came about until after that. And even now, conversations where people talk back and forth is not, before it's like stage. One person's talking and another, there's it's binary. Whereas I think David Mamet, Glenn Ross, where people are just like talking back.
Yeah.
That's never been done. Whereas in Kurosawa, you would see, because of probably the style of kabuki or no drama, in kabuki, the theater, the stage, it runs into the audience.
Right.
So the audience is a part of it. So if say there's a windy or a coldy day, you know, and
did you just say a coldy day?
So
sorry, didn't mean to distract you. That's just
I just caught myself to coldy day.
Winter coldy day. All right, so keep going. No, that was great.
No. They would bring out the actors in actual, you know, winter garb, so they can feel, hey, it's cold, and he's stylized. How do you translate that movement or a throng of people in on screen? Because
right.
Traditionally you cannot have throngs of people really distract the scene. Whereas in his style, the main characters are interacting in the scene, but you're not distracted because the mic is to the characters. Okay, right. And that's the beauty of it. And he made good use of that one. Whereas they'll have throngs of people, but whoever was the audio guy, he only potted the characters, so that when they're pulling the dolly and as they're walking along, you know, it's there. You can see it, and you have a feel of a busy marketplace, or in old Japan when they're walking, and you can hear the clopping of the horse on a muddy field, on a muddy right. road. You can hear that, which is you know, for a 50s film was groundbreaking to most, and that's why you know, very good directors, yeah, we got to look at that one and study it, because that was never done before. Obviously, it's done now. Yeah. So people are just now learning from it so that they could make their film better. Another, I'd like to point out where a scene is noisy, and the actors are interacting to each other, but it's in a scene where you cannot control the environment. One great scene is Midnight Cowboy, Ratso Rizzo. I'm walking here. Right. Yeah. See, and Paul Schrader, was it Paul? Yeah, it was Paul Schrader or Barbette Schroeder, one of those two, did a long lens and said, just go, you know, walk and just do your line. And then you see, like the 70s movies, you have these, you know, hotshot directors that were influenced by Kurosawa, just doing the modern stuff. Case in point, The Midnight Cowboy, where, wow, you never see, like if you see, say a 50s Cary Grant, you know, where they're walking with Doris Day or whatever in a city of New York. It's a soundstage, and the people are just there milling right. on cue. Whereas Kurosawa, he says, okay, he tells the background folks, this is your line, this is your whatever, you act out a market scene. We don't care. Just act out your selling.
Well, and because he went way over budget when he started this, because he said, no, I have to go to the city. I have to do real. I can't do on a stage. And, yes. And you're right. It is so amazing to watch. I can't think of a movie today that is that long that I would sit through because there was so much detail everywhere in every scene. I would stop, pause, back up, and look at like a market scene where the hero is walking by and somebody walks by with a chicken and there's hay blowing, and there's just so much going on that, like you said earlier, it transforms you into the scene, which is, it goes back to their tradition of theater. I guess we don't want to give away how it ends, because we do want people to actually see it, but
and appreciate it. I mean,
yeah.
For those who have not seen it, don't mind you, please do not Google Kurosawa or the Seven Samurais. Watch it, give it your full attention, because if you're an aficionado like me and Chris, you'll be entertained.
Yeah, and it's not one of those movies that you turn on in the background while you do things.
No. You have to pay attention.
And I don't know. It was just amazing for me. I don't know, just because it was what, 60 years ago. I mean, that's pretty crazy, right?
and it's like an Eames chair. Even to this day, an Eames chair still fits in a modern household. It will not be out of place. And Seven Samurai and AFI, to their credit, I'm glad they did that. They have their top 100 films, and it's up there because the top films really can stand the test of time, and that's a testament. And it's just like a great book, War and Peace or whatever, that will stand the test of time because it was well written. Mm-hmm. And the movie, the movies that are on the top list by AFI does stand the test of time in its age and everything, because it was well written, well acted, and even me with an ADD, since I was young, I was able to sit and watch it, and I wouldn't fidget. I was glued to it when I first saw Seven Samurai, and I also had the pleasure of watching it again in theater at Meyerland when AFI Houston Film 100 Histories of Film on Houston Film Festival, and they featured Japan. This is back in '96 or '97, and they featured Seven Samurai. I got tickets for it. I was dead smack center. Yeah, I loved it. And unfortunately, it wasn't one of those movies that I've never seen and watch it the first time on the screen. So, but still, it's great. And it's the ratio is the old square ratio. It's not the widescreen. So to those who haven't seen it, be aware.
And we do want to get your feedback. So leave your comments and let us know what you think about Seven Samurai, assuming you saw it. If not, get out there and see it and then come back and tell us about it. Understand that in this series, what we intend to do is to continue just talking about influential films, not necessarily always going to be, a classic like this. It may be something more modern. It may be something completely goofy, but that's the idea. So also we want to hear from you what you would like us to talk about. So give us feedback on that as well.
Yeah, so they can join in.
Yeah, and definitely. These shows will originate on blab.im. You may be watching this on YouTube. You may be watching this on Facebook. You could be watching this on one of my websites, some of the other places. Wherever you're watching it, understand.
Send me the link too.
Yes, the links will all be there.
Yeah.
Understand that you can join us on blab.im and be a part of the show. We'll let you take a seat with us here and you can join the conversation.
Yeah, because it might be worth it to review new movies, but we've got Rotten Tomato for that one because they're pretty good at it. But this is just if you can, instead of typing on Rotten Tomatoes your comments, join in and actually talk about it with me and Chris. So you're very much welcome to come in and slap me on the back or punch me or poke me or whatever that we do here in social media. I'm so far behind the times. I'm only on Twitter and Facebook, Chris, and Google Hangouts.
All right. So again, I want to thank you for joining us.
Hey, and pleasure's mine, dude.